It is not fickle. It is not fickle. Avyabhicharinya. Dhruti sa partha satviki. This is determination in the mode of goodness. Okay, so let's recite this verse. Dhrutya yaya dharayate mana pranendriya kriya yogena vyabhicharinya dhruti sa partha satviki. So this is healthy determination, by which I'll talk about the characteristics of this, that Krishna is saying in this determination, such determination in the mode of goodness, he's giving three characteristics broadly speaking. The first is our internal and external are synced and sustained. Mana, pran, indriya, kriya. So mana and prana are internal. That our mind and our life affairs inside us. Indriyas are at the interface of us and the world. And kriya are actions that we do in the world. So internal and external are synced. Mana, pran, indriya, kriya. Yogen avyabhicharinya. So it is involving yoga practice. Yoga has many different meanings, but ultimately it means connection with the divine. So we connect with the divine in this kind of practice of yoga. And avyabhicharinya, that means it is unwavering. Unwavering means it's like we make a resolution and then tomorrow the resolution unmakes us. So it just doesn't stay. There was an British playwright, Oscar Wilde, he said, giving up smoking is the easiest thing in the world. I have done it over 100 times. So what happened? I gave up smoking, but then I gave up the desire to give up smoking. And then I started smoking again. So it's not easy to sustain our resolutions. So determination in the mode of goodness is steady, it is unwavering. Now let's contrast this with what Krishna says about determination in the mode of ignorance. Now some people, they say that, if they're addicted to something, they say, I just can't give it up, I'm addicted to this. Some people are addicted to maybe smoking, drinking, drugs. Many of us may be addicted to our phones. Isn't it so? There was some survey done in America. People said that, if they were kidnapped by someone, they said if they had a choice between giving up a hand and giving up a phone, they would say, I'll keep the phone and give up a hand. So that's how much there are people who are attached to their phones. So it's interesting. Let's look at determination in the mode of ignorance. So yaya swapnam bhayam shokam. Swapnam here means not just dreaming but daydreaming, fantasizing. And then fearfulness, bhayam. Shokam. Shokam is just lamenting. Vishadam. I'll talk about the difference in this. Shoka is lamenting and Vishadam is moroseness. So Shoka is when something goes wrong, a person feels terribly bad about it. Vishadam is a person is habitually negative only, all the time. Vishadam, and then nobody can live like this. In fear, lamentation, moroseness. So people need escapism. And the escapism comes through madam. Madam is intoxication. Madam evacha. And now Krishna says, now we all will go through these phases. Sometimes we all will feel fear when something is going wrong. When something goes wrong, we all will fear some sadness, some lamentation. But here Krishna is saying, na vimunchati durmedha. That means that person doesn't stop feeling like this. So we all feel bad, when something goes wrong, but after that we rise up again. But the person doesn't stop feeling bad. Just the constant, na vimunchati. The person doesn't give up feeling like this. And this Krishna says is durmedha. Durmedha is misdirected intelligence. And such determination, the determination that holds on to negative emotions, to negative behaviors, that Krishna says is dhruti sa, such determination, O Partha or Arjuna, is tamasi. This is determination in the mode of ignorance. So let's recite this verse. Yaya swapnam bhayam shokam, swapnam bhayam shokam, vishadam madamevacha, madamevacha, na vimunchati durmedha, durmedha, dhruti sa partha tamasi. So let's try to understand what this verse is saying. So this was determination in sattva, in the mode of goodness. Now we are looking at determination, dhruti, in what? In tamas, in the mode of ignorance. So let's try to understand this in terms of the journey of life. So if there is this determination, aya swapnam. So what happens is, with respect to the future, there is this daydreaming. There is fantasizing. Oh, I'll do this and I'll do that, I'll do that. Sometimes on the occasion of New Year, people, I'm going to make 100 resolutions. Or 108 is auspicious number. I'll make 108 resolutions. Well, 108 resolutions are not resolutions. They are just a wish list. It is a fantasy. Nobody can sustain 108 resolutions. Even if you sustain one resolution, that is great. So, this is just fantasizing. I'll do this, I'll do that. Ya swapnam. So, on one side, we are daydreaming about the future. But simultaneously, what happens is, swapnam bhayam. So, what happens is, about the future, there is also fearfulness. Now, to some extent, when we daydream, we are thinking, I'll do this in the future, I'll achieve this in the future. So we are hoping about all the things that will be wonderful in our life in the future. And then we are dreading about all the things that will be terrible in our future. Ya swapnam bhayam shokam. And then we look at the past. And about the past, there is shokam. That is lamenting. Now, as I said, at one level, this is natural. It's like, say, life goes up and down. There are dualities. There is happiness and there is distress. Kabhi khushi, kabhi gum. As I say. So now, this is normally there in life. But for such people, what happens is that some people, it's like, when there is happiness, they go up, and there is distress, they go down. So they go hugely up. It's in a relationship, if they meet someone attractive, if they get a job that is good, oh, this is the best job in the world, I love it. And next day they have some problem, maybe their boss gives them some feedback. Such a terrible job, I don't know why I took it, I hate this job. Like just huge ups and downs. Like somebody is in a relationship, one day they will say, I can't live without you. And the next day, I can't live with you. So, this is just going up and down, up and down. So, naturally, say life will go up and down. And Krishna says, it's natural for us also that we will go up and down. But a person who is mature, for them, what happens is, their up and down is mild. They're relatively steady. They understand bad things happen in life, but that will pass. Good things happen in life, even that is going to be a phase. Let's not get too elated, let's not get too dejected. But there is another category of people. What happens is that they don't go up and down, they go down and down and down only. So, na vimunchati durmedha. Even if some good thing happens, They are not grateful that the good thing happened. They are only resentful. Why did this happen so late? If somebody has never appreciated them for something and finally that person appreciates them, then okay, they can be grateful. Oh, at least this person recognized what is it, It's only now. I've been doing this for 10 years. What do you do? Were you blind for 10 years? So, such people, even when something good happens, they always see some negative in that. And there was one atheistic philosopher. So actually, they call themselves philosophers, but a better word for them is actually philosophers. So, philosopher means that they are offering the sophistry. Sophistry is false reasoning. Sophistry of fools. So anyway, he said that life is suffering. Now we say, this is Bhagavad Gita philosophy, isn't it? Dukkhalaya. And he says, the more we try to relieve the suffering, the more suffering increases. Okay, this is Bhagavatam, dukkha ushadam tad dukkham. But this seems okay. But the third point, he says, that this Alberto Camus, he said, therefore the only philosophical question worth asking is whether to commit suicide today or tomorrow. So now this is a very dark view of life. So this is actually, the person has written books, so obviously some intelligence is there. But durmedha, the intelligence is misdirected. So it is, sometimes we may say, oh, I just don't have any determination. No, nobody can say I don't have any determination. Say somebody is very lazy. They just keep sleeping all the time. Even if somebody pushes them, somebody criticizes them, for them, they just keep being lazy. And now, if somebody tells them, come on, wake up, do something. Say, I have no determination. No, you have the determination to be lazy. Isn't it? See, we could use the word determination in one sense or in different senses. Generally, we say that what does determination means? If somebody is here and say in front of them there's a big obstacle that has come. Okay. Now, if they can push on in spite of that obstacle, then we can say they have determination. When we are trying to do something and there's a lot of difficulty in doing that, and still they keep doing it, that means they have determination, isn't it? Now consider somebody is very lazy. People disrespect them, sometimes people make fun of them, people insult them. They also see my life is being wasted. But still they are holding on to that. That is determination. See, every person with an addiction has an extremely high determination. Somebody is an alcoholic. Alcoholism doesn't come free. It costs money, it costs health, it costs reputation, it costs relationships. It can cost even one's career at times. There's once a person, he was talking with his friend. This person was alcoholic. And he said that yesterday I read an article about the danger of alcohol, danger of drinking. He said it was such a powerful article that it inspired me to take action. Oh really? His friend had been trying to get him off alcohol for a long time. So he said, okay, what action did you take? He says, I immediately stopped reading the article. So actually, you cannot say that. So addiction is also a form of determination, but it is misdirected determination. We are determined to hold on to something that is harming us. So it is not that the addict lacks determination. The addict lacks direction for the determination. This is a very important point to understand. Sometimes when we try to do something and you're not able to do it, we start thinking, I just don't have any determination. No. So addiction, it's that just they lack direction for their determination. They have determination. Everybody has determination in the world. All that we need to do is to direct the determination constructively. So, for example, Duryodhan had a lot of determination. But that destructive determination and misdirected determination, we often call it as obstinacy, stubbornness. So, see, he got into so much trouble in trying to get the kingdom from the Pandavas, isn't it? But still, he just wanted to hold on to it, somehow gain the kingdom or not. But that is destructive determination. See, every endeavor of his to try to weaken the Pandavas made them stronger. He tried to poison Bhima, and Bhima was saved by Varuna, and Bhima drank some celestial drink, by which he became 100 times more powerful. They tried to burn the Pandavas alive. The Pandavas escaped, and then they married Draupadi. And then they became the son-in-law of a powerful rival king, Drupada. And Duryodhana realized now they have actually become more powerful. They allied with Krishna at that time. They became even more powerful. So every one of his schemes backfired, but still he kept going on and on in that direction. Ravan, he paid a heavy price for his infatuation with Sita. He was warned by so many people. One by one, he lost his brother Kumbhakarna, he lost his son. First he lost Mahaprashva, Atikaya, then he lost even Indrajit. And yet, despite that loss, he was holding on to it. So he had determination. But it was misdirected determination. So today, we will try to discuss that how can we make our determination sattvic. We all have determination, but from rajasic or tamasic determination, we'll try to make our determination sattvic. And I will talk about 4 principles. So we will use an acronym called CARD. On the New Year Day, we often send New Year wishes cards to people. So we will see how we can send a card to ourselves. There are these 4 things which, if we do, we can make resolutions that will last. Resolutions that will help us transform ourselves. So, to understand how these resolutions work, let's try to get a sense of how we as human beings work. The Gita explains that actually our existence is multi-level. So we are souls. Now, so this is the Atma, the soul. Then there is the Buddhi. Then there is the Mana. Then there is the Indriya. And all this, okay, let me move forward. All this is the conditioned self. So right now, I have all this over here. And then here is the outer world. Now we could put it in this way. Let me try to change this. So the Indriyas, you could say, are basically here. We have 5 senses which are like our bridges to the outer world, pathways. So for us, if we want to strengthen our determination, see the opposite, it's not man, it's mana. It's the mind. So the key problem with having resolutions or keeping resolutions is this mana. The mana is chanchala. Chanchala means it is restless. It is very fickle. So today we make a resolution and tomorrow it says, I changed my mind. No, you didn't change your mind changed you. So quite often that happens. So we'll try to see how we can make our mind steady. Okay? So let's look at these 4 points. The first C is contemplation. Contemplation means we use our buddhi. See, our mind is here. Now what we want to do is, if our intelligence is here, we want to make the mind internally steady with the intelligence. The mind may be restless, but if our intelligence is convinced, then evam buddhe param buddhva samstabhyatmanam atmanah. Krishna says in 343, with your intelligence, understand that you are above your mind, you are above your senses, you are above this world, and situate yourself on the spiritual platform. So buddhi is extremely important for us. Everyone's mind is restless. But if our buddhi is convinced that something is important for us, then what happens is we make our mind steady. Consider, for example, if there's a student and that student has an exam which is after 6 months. Then what happens is the student wants to study. Okay. The student wants to study, and then the student opens a book, and then they think that, okay, this book is too boring. Those who can't face books, go to Facebook. So, just go to social media and waste time. So what happens is, at that time, it's too boring. Too much. But then imagine that same exam is, say, 6 hours away. That time also somebody opens Facebook in front of them. They say, forget it. Now I have to study. Now the temptation is still there. But what has happened is, the difference here is, here the buddhi, this is vital for me. There's no time to waste right now. So the point is, we all have determination. The difference between the student with 6 months away exam and 6 hours away exam is, the buddhi is taking it seriously. The mind may still be restless, but the buddhi, the intelligence says, no, you have to focus right now. So we can't change our mind very easily. If we expect I'll make a resolution and I'll naturally stick to it, it's not going to happen. But we can make our intelligence stronger. So one of the characteristics of buddhi, it has many characteristics. One of it is far-sightedness. With our intelligence, we can foresee the future. So whenever we want to change our behavior, say maybe we are short-tempered and we yell at others. Now we may understand that this is not good. But we think, I'll only do it once in a while and people will understand. But that once in a while, that may happen once in a while, but it stays in people's memory for a while. And it stays for a long while also. So once a person is harsh or rude, that creates an impression in people's minds. So what we need to do is, if I am here, when we talk about contemplation, we have to sort of look at 2 trajectories, the positive and the negative. That means, if I do the healthy behavior, if I can stick to the healthy behavior, where will it take me? This is a good destination. And if there is an unhealthy behavior, if I stick to that, what is going to happen? There is some dark destination I'll go to. So what we need to do is, with our contemplation, we need to visualize these destinations. Say, for example, can you something as simple as, say, if I read the Bhagavad Gita every day for 15 minutes. Just 15 minutes we say, okay, I read it, I don't read it, what difference does it make? But 15 minutes every day, that means in 1 year, we can read the whole Bhagavad Gita, not just once, maybe even twice. We can read an entire canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So, we can visualize that. At the end of a year, I would have read this whole book. It will be so fulfilling for me. So, look at the positive result. And that way, we'll get the inspiration. Yes, I want to do this. And conversely, if we have some unhealthy habit, we look at the result of it in the long run. See, generally for most of us, if we have some very dangerous habits, then the results come immediately. Somebody drives drunk, they hit into someone and they attack, injure someone, they get legal fine, and that's a big problem. So most of us may not have behaviors that are immediately toxic. But if we look in the long term, where will this take me? So, if I yelled at one friend and that friend just stopped talking with me. Okay, no problem, I have many other friends. But what happens is, every month I yell at one person and I lose one friend. And by the end of a year, the only friend I will have is a friend I don't have. Isn't it? I will end up with no friends at all. Now, if you visualize that, do I want to be lonely like that? No, I don't. So we need to visualize the positive and the negative. And not just visualize, after visualization, this contemplation is, we consciously visualize this. And after that visualization, we write it down. This is one of the simple things. In many, write it to write it. If we want to make our behavior right, we need to write it. Write the positive results, write the negative results. And then what happens is, initially we get some inspiration and the motivation is strong at that time. But motivation is like fire. If fire is not fueled, it's going to die. It's going to get extinguished and die. So we need to refuel the fire. And how do we refuel the fire? By having this written down. So right now, if I'm inspired to do something, write it down. Why is this good for me? Why is this continuing with this bad for me? Why is changing this good for me? Write it down. Even clear 2-3 simple points, you write it down. And it's not difficult. We can start with that. We do that, we'll find that it's much, much easier to sustain the determination. So quite often, what we think is a lack of determination is actually a lack of contemplation. The key is contemplation, it leads to conviction. Conviction is, this is important. Conviction is not the same as determination. Conviction is generally associated with buddhi. So determination is something which is the next step after that. So contemplation will lead to conviction. So the first step, contemplate. What is the acronym we are discussing? Okay, so now the second is A. A is association. So our mind is here. Try to do it with someone else. Then it becomes much easier to do it. Say, if we decide, okay, I'm going to read the Bhagavad Gita every day, every 15 minutes. Then see if there's any other friend also in your circle who also wants to read it. And then every day, maybe you send a WhatsApp message, I read 15 minutes today. And if they say, I read 15 minutes, oh, I have not read, I should read it now. It's a small motivation, small spur that we get. That small spur sometimes is all that we need. So association can give us little gentle pushes. And this is where, if we don't have this external pressure, see, the mind is meant to be controlled by the intelligence, but sometimes the mind starts controlling the intelligence. And that's how our determination or conviction will also go away. So, but when we have some external pressure, external arrangement, external push, external pressure, that's very helpful. So, for example, somebody decides that, okay, every day in the morning, I'm going to wake up at 5 o'clock and I'm going to do my japa in the morning. Now, you do decide that. Maybe have some other friend, maybe even if you're not coming together, nowadays many devotees come together online to do japa in the morning. You come on Zoom with somebody else. Now, you come on Zoom, if you zoom out, then somebody will zoom in on you. Isn't it? Somebody can help you. Or just, have a phone, you ring up your friend, hey, did you wake up? I'll wake you. And some days we wake them up, some days they wake us up. So association, we may have general association, we come to temple, we have satsang, that's wonderful. But here I am talking about specific association that sustains us in our resolutions. See, we are social creatures. And we have a natural need. That natural need is to be accepted and even respected. This is not necessarily a bad thing. The wanting to be accepted or respected, it's not necessarily an expression of the ego. Now, it is important by whom do we want to be accepted or respected by. So, if we want to be accepted and respected by good people, and that will inspire us to become good. In the Mahabharata, Karna is a tragic example of a good person, relatively good person, who constantly sought respect of a bad person. Who was the bad person? Duryodhana. And in trying to be accepted and respected by him, Karna started doing bad things. So, we all will be affected by the people around us. We will be seeking acceptance by someone or the other. Let's do it consciously. Let's seek some association. That's why it's good to have a large community, but it's also good to have smaller groups where we focus on certain things. That's why in bhakti, as we grow, in bhakti, there is refining of the principles. First, we say we need satsanga, and that is of course true. But then it is said we need sajatiya satsanga. Sajatiya means like-minded devotee association. That means the same things that we are pursuing, if we have other devotees who are pursuing something similar. If I am inspired, we can't improve everything at the same time. So, if I want to improve my sadhana, then look at people who also want to focus on their sadhana. If I want to improve my shastric study, then look at devotees who are interested in shastric study. Sajatiya satsanga. So, what we did was, we create some internal steadiness for the mind through buddhi, through contemplation. We create external steadiness through satsanga, through association. What is the third thing? Now, satsanga, Krishna talks about it repeatedly in the Bhagavad Gita, especially talks about it in 10.9, where he says, Krishna consciousness, bhakti becomes joyful in the association of devotees. Bodhayantaha parasparam kathayantasyamam nityam tushyanti charamanti cha. So, even devotional resolutions will not just become easy, but they will become relishable in the association of devotees. Now, you say we are fasting on Ekadashi. If we come in satsang and there is kirtan, there is katha, there is seva, then we hold fast to our determination to fast. But if we are trying to do it alone, then our determination to fast goes away fast. So, that's what is the power of association. Unfortunately, the nature of the mind is that in spite of trying to make it internally steady and externally steady, still the mind may slip away. Still the mind may fickle, and still we may have some slips, some falls. So that brings us to the third. Third is what? R. So R is retrospection. So spect is to see, retrospect is to look back. Now Krishna talks about this in 6.5, where he says, Uddharedatmanatmanam natmanam avasadayet. What he means by this is, it is our responsibility to elevate ourselves. We should treat ourselves in a way that we elevate ourselves and don't degrade ourselves. That means, say I am here and I move forward. Then what happens is, we say from here I come till here. Then we can sort of conceptually look at ourselves from above and look back at our day. What did I do? So when we do this, sometimes what happens is we make some resolution. So if we consider resolution, if we stick to it, then what happens is there is pride. Oh, I am so powerful, I am so determined, I am so great. And if we slip from it, then there is dejection. I am hopeless, I will never change. And both of these, so I am great and I am hopeless. Both of these are not very helpful assessments. Because I may think today I am great and tomorrow I slip. And what happens? Did I change from great to hopeless in one day? No. What we want to do is, okay, I didn't succeed. What exactly went wrong? Just try to approach yourself with curiosity. Brahma Jigyasa. That means when we look at ourselves, not with congratulation, oh I am so great, nor with condemnation, oh I am so terrible. There are like two extremes we go to. But in between is, just look at ourselves with curiosity. Try to understand. Okay, we might think that some resolutions we try to keep and we find it's almost impossible. And there are other resolutions we try to think and we think I will not be able to do it, but we find that I'm able to do it. We all have this experience, isn't it? Sometimes we disappoint ourselves by our inability to keep resolutions, but sometimes we surprise ourselves. I thought this would be very difficult, but I was able to do it. So when we look at ourselves, we understand ourselves better. See, the mind, you could say, when the mind is chanchala, so the mind is like a child. Now say if parents have 2 or 3 children, they understand that you can't treat all the children exactly the same way. Each child is different. So if one child gets angry, there's no one formula that all parents across the world can use to pacify a crying child. Isn't it? You have to be creative. You have to look at what works for the child. So like that, we have to understand what works with our mind. See, ultimately, it's important. Sometimes we say the mind is like an enemy. But it's interesting. Normally, if we think it's a literally an enemy, we would just want to destroy the enemy. Isn't it? But does Krishna say destroy the mind? No. Krishna says change the mind to a friend. So, we have to live with our mind. That's why what we need is, we understand what is easy for us, what is difficult for us. So when something works, when something doesn't work, we learn about ourselves and then we can adapt. So when we retrospect, when we are trying to make resolutions, there are broadly 2 purposes. One is, we could say, self-transformation. I want to become better. And that is good. But another important purpose is also self-understanding. Okay, I can do this. This is not too difficult for me. This is much more difficult for me. And each of us is an individual. If we get this self-understanding, we can actually move forward much more easily. So each of us needs this. And that's why sometimes the purpose of resolutions, sometimes if we make a resolution and we don't keep it, we say, what is the use? I never keep any resolutions. So why make any resolutions at all? No, we may fail in our resolutions, but in trying to keep those resolutions, we will understand ourselves better. So, and that is far more valuable, because we have to live with ourselves for the rest of our life. So it's good that we understand ourselves better. It's very important that the same mind, what it does is, there is, when we try to self-improve, there is the temptation of instant improvement. Instant improvement means, what I do is, say, if I am here, the mind says that, you just jump from here to here. So it's like, I say, I'm habituated to wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and I say, tomorrow I'll wake at 4 o'clock. Just take a high jump. Now what happens is, sometimes when we take a high jump, we go high up and then we go further down. So we wake up, we say, we are habituated to wake up at 8 o'clock, we say, I'll wake up at 4 o'clock. We wake up at 4 o'clock, we smash the alarm clock shut. Then we wake up at 6 o'clock, and then we are so angry with ourselves, just throw the alarm clock away, and then we wake up at 10 o'clock. So, this temptation for instant improvement is actually determination in Rajoguna. So, what we need to do is, by the retrospection, understand, okay, I can't jump up like that over there. But that does not mean that from here I cannot get here. But what I need is gradual steps. Gradual steps. Krishna says, Shanai Shanai Ruparamed Buddhya Dhriti Gruhitaya Shanai Shanai. Gradually, step by step. So, this is critical. 6.25 Krishna talks about it. Step by step, gradually. So, when we learn about ourselves, somebody else might be able to take that high jump. But that doesn't mean we can't improve if we can't take that high jump. We can take small steps forward. So by this retrospection, we start understanding our capacities better. So instead of simply thinking, I'm great, I'm useless. No, okay, I learned something more about myself. I learned that this is what I can do. This is what it's difficult for me. So we may decide, let me start with battles that I can win right now. And then I do some things which are workable for me. And then afterwards, I'll work at other things. Once I gain some more confidence, I become somewhat better, then I'll work on other things. So this is what retrospection helps us do. That it helps us move gradually upwards. And that brings us to the last part. What is the last acronym? D. D is devotion. Devotion is the magical key in self-transformation. I'll talk about how devotion does two things. Say, if I am here and say Krishna is above us. So we are facing some huge obstacle in front of us, which is stopping us. So when devotion essentially means that we are connecting with Krishna. So, devotion does two things for us. First is devotion, or rather let's put it this way. When we have this connection, devotion gives us a bigger vision. Param Drushtva. Drushtva actually means vision. Prabhupada translates that taste, and I'll come to that, why he translates it. But Drushtva literally means vision. Devotion gives us a higher vision, a bigger vision, a higher vision. And I'll explain what that means. But along with that, devotion also gives us, nothing is deeper empowerment. We get greater strength, greater inner strength. Let's see how this happens. Devotion does many things, but I just focus on these two things right now. See, whenever we are trying to improve ourselves, at that time we sometimes feel, I'm so tiny, I'm so small, I'm struggling against all this, how will I ever succeed? But when we are connected with Krishna, we start understanding that I am not alone. It is not that I alone am fighting in this big bad world. Rather, it is Krishna who is there with me. Now we all have heard this philosophical truth that Mamaivamsho Jivaloke, that we are parts of Krishna. Now this truth is important, but what does it mean practically? It means we have parts in Krishna's plan. If I am a part of Krishna, that means I have a part in Krishna's plan. Like say, somebody is a part of the Indian cricket team. That means they have a part in the Indian cricket team, isn't it? So like that, we are part of Krishna means we have a part in Krishna's plan. So, Krishna wants each one of us to do something of value, something of beauty, something of great contribution to the world. Now that great may be evaluated differently by different people. But Krishna wants each one of us to do something of value. And He wants to bless us with the resources to do those things. But for that, we need to be ready to fight against our inner demons, the instabilities inside our mind. But when we understand that Krishna is with me, it is not just I who am fighting against my anger or my greed or my jealousy or my lust. And it is not that Krishna is up there saying, okay, only when you fight and win, then you can come to me. No, Krishna is not waiting for us to win so that we will come to Him. Krishna is working with us so that we can win. It's a very different vision. Sometimes we think that, oh, I am so impure, why will Krishna care for me? No. Krishna cares for us whether we are pure or whether we are impure. Have any of you heard this saying? This statement? I am a fallen soul, isn't it? We've all heard it, said, we speak about ourselves, we speak it about others. But actually, what happens is when we say it, we make this fallen so big and we forget that it's so. I am fallen. See, fallen is also a temporary designation. Just like we say, I am Indian, I am male, I am middle-aged, I am engineer, these are designations. So, I am fallen is also a designation. So, Krishna doesn't see us primarily as fallen. Krishna sees us primarily as souls. And the soul is always dear to Krishna. Every one of us is loved by Krishna right now as we are. And that's why Krishna is there in our hearts with us. Sarvasya chaham hridisannivishto. He's there in everyone's heart. So when we understand that Krishna is with us, so it is, I am here and there is this big obstacle here. Whatever is in an obstacle is there, anartha is there. And we may think that, see, Krishna is somewhere here. So it's only when I overcome this obstacle, then I will get to Krishna. But it's not like that. Actually how it is, that this is not the vision. This is not what the Bhagavad teaches. It is, I am here, and yes, this obstacle is here, but Krishna is right next to me. So if I push against this, Krishna can push against it 100 times stronger. Krishna just wants to see whether we are ready to fight. Krishna will help us, but as they say, God helps those who help themselves. So we take a few steps in trying to make ourselves better in a mood of service to Krishna, and Krishna will take many more steps to help us. So therefore, this bigger vision that I am a part of Krishna and Krishna is with me. So this can give us a lot of empowerment. And when Krishna pushes, see, many obstacles can be huge for us, but nothing is too big for Krishna. So Krishna can overcome any obstacle. Our mind may be very unsteady, and for us we may try to make it steady as much as possible, and it may not become steady. But when Krishna wants, Krishna can make our mind steady in one moment. So what we are trying to do is, we just, through all our efforts, we just try to show Krishna that I want to improve, that I am going to try to improve. And if we do that, Krishna can bring about magical change in our lives. And that magical change is what we all aspire for. So, in one sense, change, it's evolutionary. Evolutionary means, say, every day we try to chant, every day we maybe do some puja, regularly we come to satsang. Say, is this making any difference? So change, it appears to be evolutionary, but eventually the effect will be revolutionary. Not just evolutionary, but revolutionary. And this is the gap that is bridged by mercy. By Krishna's mercy, the change that may seem impossible for us today will become possible in the future. And it is with that hope, it is that faith, it is with that confidence that each one of us can embark on this new year. This Krishna wants each one of us to become better. And Krishna will help us. If we do our part, Krishna will do so much more that we can't even imagine. There is so much that Krishna wants to do through us. And if we become willing instruments, He can purify us, He can transform us. And He can do so much good for us and from us through the world. So that is the vision by which each one of us can approach this new year with new faith, with new confidence, with new hope. So I'll summarize what I discussed today. We discussed about how to keep New Year resolutions. I talked primarily about 5 points. We want something new in our life. Now, in our life's journey, maybe something new will come, but we don't know. But what we can do is, we can bring something new into our life. We can bring something better into our life. And that's the idea of New Year resolutions. And we discussed how can we bring something new in our life. What was the acronym? CARD. C was contemplation. So contemplation basically means that what we do is, I talked about here, there is our mind, and we use the buddhi. The buddhi to make the mind steady internally. So by contemplation, what we do is we visualize both the positive destination that we can get to and the negative destination, and especially write it down so that we will have regular remotivation of ourselves. Then A was association. So association is not just general satsang, but here we talk about sajatiya, like-minded. Those who are pursuing the same goals that we are pursuing. What this will do is, this will bring some external steadiness for our mind. Association. And then the fourth point was about retrospection. Retrospection means basically look back and learn about ourselves. So instead of simply congratulating or condemning, we can have curiosity. Don't just congratulate, oh I am so good, or condemn, I am so bad. Instead, have curiosity. And by this what will happen is, we will understand what works for us and what doesn't work for us. By this, we can avoid the temptation of instant improvement. So retrospection is more like we are looking at ourselves from above. So we learn, okay, why did the mind slip away? And then last was devotion. So, by devotion, what happens is we get, by Krishna's mercy, a bigger vision. A bigger vision means we start seeing that I am not alone in fighting. That Krishna wants me to change and Krishna is with me. And not only is Krishna with me, if I push against this obstacle a little bit, Krishna will push much more. Bigger vision, and there is greater empowerment. So when this happens, these two happens, it's like devotion means we understand that behind our buddhi, there is Krishna. And Krishna can actually fully steady our mind. And by his steadying our mind, each one of us can become so much better and do so much better in our service to him in this world. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, for what of time and